Hello, everybody. Testing, testing. 1 2 1 2. Hello, everybody. Let's see. How strong is the Punic compared to a CSO or a CAS? So it probably, well, in the mod anyway. I don't know about in lore. I can tell you that the Punic-class, there is no UNSC ship other than the Infinity that could beat a CAS in a 1v1. In the mod, the Trafalgar absolutely will be able to kill a CAS because it's a hero ship. I have a feeling it will lose to a CSO though. But that's okay, it makes sense. Yeah, as a rule of thumb, any hero ship in the mod is going to be... Well, it's certainly going to be more powerful than its crew number would suggest. Even the Pillar of Autumn will be a 2-crew ship, and even that will be like a match for a CAS. Because it just has to be, because it's a hero ship, you know? Well, hate to break it to you, but that particular scenario is never going to happen. Heartbreaking, I know. A lot of people saying they prefer the Sins DDS. To each their own. It's a good design. I think it was actually concepted, the Sins DDS was concepted by an artist who has actually gone on to make some of the cover art for some of the Halo novels. So obviously that's going to be a beloved design. Hello, everyone. Let's get into gear. Let's get started. So I'm gonna open up Sapien or mod tools. Yeah, I was just really fascinated by the book description of the DDS being, well, the only description we really have of it, it's very vague, but it being composed of 3 main prongs. And that idea was just sitting in my head for like a month. There was one night where I woke up already thinking about how to make that design. And so I knew I had to see it through. Imperator you know doesn't wear glasses. Well, the Imperator you know has been 3 streams, and on 2 of those streams I have been wearing glasses. Giant Halo C, Sergeant Johnson. Yeah, good shout. Great plan. I can see it already. Yo, Bacon with a truth nuke. Holy shit. Appreciate you, Bacon. I still love the Sins DDS. I just think, I don't know, I guess it's not... Well, it's not book accurate, I guess. Not that that's a bad thing, necessarily. Okay, so here we are, we're in. So what we have left to do on the Trafalgar here is we need to set up some appropriately sized destruction effects. The explosions on it so far are too small. I'll demonstrate. This will take a while. Not that long, actually. So the thruster explosions are fine, but the main explosion and a lot of the smaller explosions are not the right size. We also need to... Currently it has the Artemis max on it. I want the Trafalgar's max to be stronger than that. I feel like the max on the Trafalgar should be one-shotting Covenant escorts and probably stripping the shields from a CCS in one hit and significantly damaging the shields of a CAS in one hit. Use some of his weapons on the cast. Yeah, I can show you. So each gunner seat has... It has the Mac, obviously, which is the Artemis Mac. You know what that's like. We have a breakwater battery here on the bottom. And the special thing about breakwaters on hero ships is that they have armor-piercing ammunition, which means that they can cause reactor kills. So just like normal breakwaters, it's a 3-shot burst and then an 8-second cooldown. The hero ship breakwaters also have longer range than the regular breakwaters. They actually have the same range as Covenant plasma lances. Then we have our longsword bombers. He's probably a bit too close to be launching longswords at. Launch them at this guy over here. So if you click, he launched the regular longswords we all know and love. But if you hold, it launches a longsword with a Shiva. The Shiva longswords generate twice the amount of heat as a normal longsword, so you are going to overheat the weapon a lot faster, which means you get less Shiva carrying longswords per wing than regular longswords. Shiva missile on the longsword is also a lot faster than the regular longsword nuke. And you can see that was 2 regular longswords, 2 Shiva longswords, and they've smashed through the DCV shields and reduced it to below 50% health, 37% health. So they're pretty strong. With the second shot to the CCS, take it down. Yeah, that'd be the plan. It might even work out that if you are aiming at the reactor, one shot will kill a CCS, but the orbital defense platform max are a one shot no matter where you hit, which I don't want to be the case on the Trafalgar. Oh yeah, and then the point defenses. Well, we know what point defenses are, but this is the rate of fire that they have. They also, Bacon, if you're still watching, you might not have seen this. I've actually rigged these little, I can't remember the name of them, these little point defense turrets for every seat on the ship. The ones that are actually looking at the CAS are the ones for this gunner seat. The rest are for the other seats. And I think this has convinced me that I actually want to go back and add these turrets specifically to every UNSC ship as their point defenses. A really cool design, and it would be cool to have a visual with the point defenses. But that's pretty cool. Yeah, so the gunners, both gunners have identical weapon setups, and then the pilot has... Well, he's got the archers, and this thing fires 30 archers per volley. Just like that. And he's also got long swords, just like the other seats. Point defenses. And then defensive fighters. So that's the weapon breakdown of the Trafalgar. Can a CSO be reactor killed? No. Hero ships don't have reactors. Reactor areas, rather. No nukes. No, the secondary fire on the longsword is technically a Shiva nuke. You can fire 3 of those per wing if you fire only those. So yeah, fairly large ship. Pilot doesn't have any Mac. Because it has 2 Macs and 3 seats, I figured it would be better for the gunners to have the Mac. This pilot already has. Pilot has the benefit of flying the ship, so it makes sense for the passengers to have the coolest toy. So your chance of 4 people can spawn in a Paris class and spawns right underneath the Punic. I'm trying to figure that out. The only way to really do it is to add a teleport exit somewhere underneath the Punic, like here. That's built into the ship. And then having some way of either through their spawn effect, which would include a teleport entry, or UNSC escort ships. So on spawn, they would be teleported to where this is. Or maybe the Punic can drop a Slipspace buoy that any escort ships go near, they get teleported to this. I need to make sure that the teleporters that restrict certain types of vehicle actually works. Otherwise, this whole escort spawning thing is not feasible, because what will happen otherwise is when a Covenant ship Slipspace jumps, there is a chance that it will come out at the Punic as well, because you can't set teleporter channels in the tag itself, only in Forge, which is unfortunate. UNSC heavy carrier when? Is it apparently a light carrier? No, this is a supercarrier. This is the largest ship the UNSC ever built before the Infinity. And it's almost as big as the CAS. Oh yeah, by the way, talking about big ships, I've also set up a second CSO class, which will be the Sublime Transcendence, which you guys might know from that one passage in Ghost of Onyx where it appears for a second and then explodes. And you can see I have the name set in the targeting information as well. So that'll be technically another Covenant hero ship. Took very little work, it's literally just a shader change on the Long Night of Solace. Set it up as a separate vehicle. But it's such a nice... The CAS shader is so nice, it's a shame not to use it. Again. In all other aspects, it is just a Long Night of Solace. When the DDS comes out and it gets its unique strike craft, I might put them on Sublime Transcendence as well. But yeah. Size comparison with the Trafalgar. Just absurd. It really... the CSO is pretty absurd. I mean, the Punic is absurd for a UNSC ship, but even for Covenant standards, CSO is absurd. Get a little look at the DDS again. Hell yeah. There he is. Okay. So, our first order of business is to set up the new Mac weapon. Do I have the Shadow of Intent model? No, I'm still working on that. I need to add the cowl to the back of it. Won't take long because it's 95% of the model is just a regular CAS. Just a few shader changes here and there and the cowl on the back. Set this to a CCS. The Fortress PDG model is introduced. Model for Infinity in Halo 4. I did not know that. Is that the one that's on the Trafalgar or the Punic? Any unique strike craft for the Punic? Technically, yes. It can, on its longsword weapon, it can alt-fire longswords that launch Shivas instead of the much smaller and less powerful longsword nukes that are standard. Punic PD, hell yeah. I guess 343 aren't all that bad then at designing things. No, but jokes aside, I do really like this turret. It's cool. Reminds me of like a modern destroyer's deck gun or something like that. No one from 1G or 343 has contacted me about the mod, but as Bacon says, he has shown it to Ken from 343, and apparently he is he's been appreciating it. So that's cool. Really, really awesome, in fact. Would the Infinity be possible to be added? It's possible. I'm just not going to do it. We'll be keeping the Carol pattern. So the model in Slipspace is the Siphon already. This is the Siphon pattern. And then the Shadow of Intent hero ship is going to be the Carol. You can tell it's a Siphon because it has all these buildings on the back. And it doesn't have that rear cowl. 343 taking notice of Martyr's fans. Oh yeah, Sins of the Prophets has some of their designs have been canonized. They're actually official. I think the Point Blank has been made canon. Their interpretation of the Point Blank has been made canon. The Able-class destroyer that they made is also canon. A bunch of their assets were featured in the 2022 Halo Encyclopedia to represent as renders for some of the ships as well. 343 are actually pretty good at recognizing fan work. This is my favorite map. I know it's used for testing almost always. And no, not necessarily. It's just the map that I have the Punic on. So rather than have to open a new map and import it again, even though it doesn't take that long. But I already have it on this map, so I just open that every time. Oh, this map is sick. The guys really cooked on this one. Reload. I think Rizzard was involved. Gibbo figured out the shadow, so the transition from the lit surface to the shadowed surface. I think Reload did the illumination map on the Halo ring. I'm really sorry if I'm forgetting the contributions of anyone else. I probably am. Yeah, Slipspace got a shout out in a Cannon Fodder article, which was super cool. Super, super cool. That's right, yeah, Jared Harris has made stuff for Infinite. Hell yeah. Where were we? Oh yeah. So, excuse me. What we need to do is... Oh yeah, the Mac isn't on the Punic itself. Go into one of the gunners. Need to go down to weapons. Yeah, here we go. So we're going to open the Artemis Mac tag. We're going to save it as Mac Unit Gunner. We are going to extend the range. Trafalgar's meant to be a carrier, so it needs to be far away, really, from the front line. Let's set it to 6,000. In general, the weapons on hero ships will have longer ranges than the weapons on non-hero ships. Because the thinking is everybody's going to be gunning for the hero ship, and so it needs to be able to engage targets before it itself is a target, or it's gonna die very fast. That's the working theory anyway. We want the reload time of these Supermax probably to be 20 seconds each. And we need to set up a new projectile. Gonna be Mac unit round. Do the tools that allow more than 16 of each ship and forge being placeable? No, I can increase that limit. If you would like me to, I can. I just set it to 16 because that's usually what the limit is for vehicles, just because the maximum amount of players you're going to have is 16. Okay, so that's the new projectile. We need a new impact damage effect. Set this. $15,000. It's probably going to need to be higher than that, actually. We're going to go to the detonation damage, which is 10,000. That can stay like that, actually. So we're going to reference our new impact damage. Punic projectile damage. Is that the type of change that would break maps? No. It's changing the order. No, it's adding more entries to the forge palette that breaks maps. Changing how many of that entry you can have on a map shouldn't break it, no. Hopefully. So we're going to plug our new projectile into this weapon, and we're going to go into our vehicles and update the weapon there. Okay, let's see what kind of damage this does. So ideally, this will break the shields of the CCS but won't kill it. Not quite. Let's jump into our rear gunner and see what it does to a DCV. Oh, we do not have the angle. Got a weird question. What's next for you once you're done with Slipspace? That is an excellent question. Once I'm done with Slipspace, I'm going to be starting on my own complete from scratch video game. Won't be anything like Slipspace. All I can tell you at the moment is it's going to be like a first-person Souls-like with melee combat inspired by Chivalry and Mordhau, if you know what those games are. Let me show you, as a quick distraction, let me show you a model I made that would be representative of the kind of enemies you'd be fighting in this hypothetical game. So this kind of thing is what you'll be fighting in the game I'm going to make. Hopefully going to make. I am going to make it. I think there's a single-player, first-person Souls-like game with Mordhau combat is just an untapped gem. I don't know why anybody hasn't done it, unless there's like a really good reason and it just doesn't work. But I think the plan I have for it is an excellent idea. So there you go. Okay, let me see what this does to a DCV. This definitely will break a DCV shields. Yep. We wanted to kill a DCV in one hit if it hits the reactor. So what we need to do is increase the impact damage, because what happens is if there is more impact damage than the shield health, then the projectile will continue through the ship Whereas if there's less, even if the detonation damage would break the shields, if it has to use detonation damage, that means the projectile is being destroyed on impact. So let's raise this to 18,000. Have my interest now, you have my attention. Keep watching this project. You'll be watching for a while. I'm planning to start work on it next year. And I reckon, so I first want to do like a more limited roguelike kind of smaller scale game as a test bed for the mechanics. And once that's done, I'm going to make the proper actual Souls-like with that. So I'm kind of expecting the whole thing, so the roguelike and the Souls-like, it's probably going to take me 10 years, realistically. Unless I think I'm going to have to try and get a programmer to help me. Because that's going to slow me down a lot, because I need to learn programming. I know how to do everything else. I know how to animate, I know how to make models, I can texture. All the art side of things, but if you can't program, you don't have a game. So hopefully I can find a very professional programmer who can do the things I need to do for the game. I reckon hopefully that roguelike project will take like 3 years, 3 or 4 years. That'll be the time frame I'd hope to achieve it in. Would ever be viable in game, or is it too strong? Well, ODPs in general are too strong outside of objective modes. But if we get Moncton working as an objective in whatever capacity, as like an active thing that actually is a threat, then I don't see why not have the AROD as well as a harder version. Type of enemy is that? So that was a fallen seraph. That would be one of the seraphs that joined Lucifer in his rebellion in heaven. The game is going to be very, very based in biblical mythology. A lot of enemy designs are going to be pulling from that sort of wheelhouse. Am I going to make custom UNSC ships? No, I'm not going to. For 2 reasons, which are kind of linked. First reason is the Sins of the Prophets guys, so Bacon and Malcontent and Jess, who's a girl, the Sins of the Prophets people, have been very generous in giving me access to their incredible assets, which is what all the UNSC ships in Slipspace are. They're Sins of the Prophets assets. Same with the strike craft, they're done by them, and the missiles, even the missile models are done by them now. So yeah, reason one is I don't have to, thankfully have not had to make custom UNSC ships myself. And the second reason is, even if I did now, I wouldn't be able to match the texturing process that they do. I would be either having to make my own textures or like kit bashing the UVs to use the existing textures that they've provided, which is just kind of meh. Not a great solution. So no, I won't be making any UNSC ships myself. And well, the third reason is making the Covenant ships takes up so much time already that I don't really have time to even consider making any other kind of assets. Thankfully, I have my trusty team of developers, so Gibbo, Reload, Jeshua, who are making Forge assets. They're making some really, really cool Covenant station pieces, pipes and things to connect things together, asteroid stations. They've set up Anchor 9 as a Forge object. We've got the Unyielding Hierophant as a Forge object made by Gibbo. We've got a cool selection of Covenant assets, Forge assets coming to the mod in the next map, which will be soon, trademark. CSO isn't from Sins. No, I made that. That's a custom model made by myself. All the Covenant ships except the SDV are my work. Well, except the CIS and the CSO are based on the Halo 2 anniversary CIS assets. But I took them and gave them a facelift in terms of poly count, and I also set them up to use Reach's shaders in the same kind of aesthetic approach as the other Covenant ships in the mod. So we've updated damage. Let's see if this kills the DCV.
Point defense operational.
It drops a shield, but it doesn't kill. That should have been a reactor shot if the impact damage was enough to keep the projectile going. So let's make it 20,000. Hey, thanks, Yogi. Good luck at work. Hope your shift passes quickly. I'm going to make post-war ships. No. Technically, the Vindication is post-war, but the Sins of the Prophets asset is not. It's kind of their own interpretation of the design, and it's meant to be a war-era ship.
Targeting hostile.
Based on an image from one of the comics that has it, the Vindication shown in 2525. The game similar to Ultra Killer? No, because it kind of seems similar, but no. So Ultra Kill would be a first-person shooter. The game that I want to make is melee combat focused. It'd be more like Dark Souls, but first person. But it will have kind of a retro aesthetic, low poly, kind of. So a big inspiration for it actually is Devil May Cry 3 aesthetically. That's my favorite game of all time. So if you can imagine that level of fidelity in terms of models and textures, that's kind of what I'm going for. We need to up the damage again. 20,000 is not enough.
Firing.
Still not enough. Okay, let's make it 30. Now this damage is being halved by Covenant shields. But that's probably why it's not sufficient. Oh, I haven't reset the scene.
Engaging.
Okay, interesting. What about 35,000? Let's see. Next map after Earth Portal. So Earth Portal is not next. There's a different map coming out first, which is going to have all the Covenant assets on it.
Engaging.
There we go. Okay, so that's one shot. Then after that, we aren't really sure. Gibbo has started work on a revamp of the High Charity map. He's also got a another Halo ring map that's kind of like the one from Halo 5, where it's, or Halo 2 Anniversary, I think it is, where it's like really close to the ring, but there's some work we need to do on that. We need a high fidelity ring asset for that. So Gibbo has been experimenting with sculpting for the terrain. And yeah, beyond that, there's no real plan regarding maps. We're kind of just rolling with it.
Targeting hostile.
Okay, excellent. So the Trafalgar Mac takes the shields off of CCS, kills the DCV in one hit. Means it'll kill anything smaller. One sec, guys. Hey, sorry about that, everybody. I'm back. What's that map going to be? We haven't decided on a name for it yet, but it's going to be a very dark map, kind of on like the nighttime side of a Covenant planet. So that the Covenant planet is like beneath, and then there's like a big moon, most of which is completely in darkness. And then there's a smaller moon casting light into the map. It's really cool. And the forge objects are going to be really, really sick on it. Yeah, there's a lot of cool different things we could do, but we need for any map that we're close to something, we need a high fidelity asset, because the existing ones that we could port or use are only meant to be seen from a distance, and you would be able to tell that they're quite low fidelity up close.
Engaging.
Okay, so how much health is this being left on? Oh, so none of it is getting through to the hull. I might want to make... so the Mac Artemis detonation only hurts shields. I probably want to change that so that it hurts everything. So let's save this as a new tag. Take away the only hurt shields flag.
Point defense operational.
Oh, okay, that does a lot of damage. Damn. Okay, let's reduce that a bit. Make it 8,000.
Engaging.
Takes the CCS down to 35% health. That seems reasonable. I can probably make it a little bit less. 6,000.
Engaging.
%. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that seems like a fair number. So, again, it should be destroying a DCV in one hit.
Engaging.
Yeah, well, that's a reactor. Let's see if it destroys in one hit, no matter where it lands. Hey, Markov, welcome, welcome.
Engaging.
Yeah, okay, so it's a one-shot kill to a DCV, no matter where it hits. And obviously anything smaller will be the same. Let's change this to a Ket and see what it does to a Ket. I have a feeling it's going to kill it in one hit.
Firing.
Okay, so it's not lethal damage to the hull. Takes it just below half. Yeah, that's reasonable again. I have a feeling it will be able to reactor kill in one hit though. Have I ever heard about the game Nine Souls? No. No, I'm not familiar with that.
Firing.
Okay, it does not reactor a Ket. Perfect. Let's see what it does to a Cass.
Targeting enemy assets.
41% shields on a Cass. Yep. Seems like a fair trade to me. So the Trafalgar can potentially 2-tap a CAS if it focuses both max on it.
Targeting hostile.
Let's test that theory.
Point defense operational.
Oh, okay. No, it doesn't. Takes its hull down to 57. Still, that's pretty strong, really. It's a 4-player ship that it's basically taking out of commission in 2 shots. And then you just follow up with the armor-piercing breakwaters. You've got a kill. Wrong seat. See about the game was very, very good. I'll keep that in mind, yeah. Check it out.
Initiating attack.
What's the reload time? It's 20 seconds. Which is 2 seconds more than a light Mac.
Engaging.
Yeah, there you go. 2 shots from the Max, and 1 barrage from the breakwaters. Dead Cass. Okay, so I think the Max are in a good place then. That's the only weapon change that I need to make. Let's see, do the point defenses have range on these from here? No. Okay. I've released an update with everything testing fine. And as soon as people tried it, it breaks. Not quite like that. There's been a couple of times where I've released an update where I forgot to revert a change I had made just for testing purposes. For example, the most infamous one was I had replaced the projectile fired by the Paris class's point defenses to an enhanced plasma torpedo because I wanted to test how many of them could be active at once and still render their trails. And I forgot to revert that change, and so for a day there, or I think I might have changed it back that night, I remember. But for a little bit there, the Paris was shooting whatever it was, 24 enhanced plasma torpedoes a second, which was pretty funny. But no, I don't think there hasn't been any updates that have like broken things really. I don't think there's probably 1 or 2 instances more like that plasma torpedo fiasco. Now, when the mod first released, there were some issues, as is usually the case with new releases. Max did not work at all for clients. For some reason, in Halo's netcode, in Reach's netcode, the auto aim by itself is not enough to deliver a projectile where the player wants it to be delivered at ranges that Slipspace is using. For reference, the longest range auto aim in the base game is 200 world units, and that's when you're zoomed in twice with the sniper rifle. Default engagement ranges for most weapons in Slipspace is 3,000 world units, so the engine wasn't really designed with those kind of ranges in mind. And so the solution to that was I needed to make almost every weapon have tracking projectiles. So every projectile is technically a missile. Otherwise, they just won't work at long range. You run out of serious ships and stuff to make. A game mode where things are stupidly randomized would be hilarious. So we can randomize using the same game type that Slayer Fiesta uses. We could technically randomize which ship you're spawning in, but we couldn't randomize things like which weapons a ship has. There's no scope for that in game type editing. Okay, so next thing we need to do is we need to update the Punic's HUD. So you can see right now we're using the Ions HUD, so it says Ion-class light carrier at the top. The icon of the ship on the right is also the Ion, so we need to update that. Yeah, so let's do that. So first things first. We need to grab the existing thingamajig. I'm actually going to switch this to one of the multi-crew ships, because they already have some of the extra HUD elements set up. Let's go to Marathon. So you can see up top we now have the name of the ship, and there's two icons there, one that shows which seat you're in and which seat you're not in. But because this is a 3-player ship, we need to add a third segment to that. I'm going to open this HUD and I'm going to save it. In Trafalgar. Trafalgar. So I think I might already have the Punic icon. Saver schematic. Marathon. Yeah, Punic, we have it. Sick. Hell yeah, there we go. Let's squish it a little bit. What's the lore behind this ship? I'm not super familiar with the Punic-class's lore. I know that it was built by the CMA, which is the Colonial Military Authority, before the outbreak of the Human Covenant War. This is back when the CMA kind of governed the outer colonies of humanity and the UNSC governed the inner core. There was a little bit of a Cold War between them. So they were making, the CMA were building up for a potential peer-to-peer conflict with the UNSC. And the Punic, I'm not sure if the Punic was built specifically with that in mind, or if it was meant to be like a mothership for campaigns against insurrectionists. I think that might be why it was built. I think only a handful of them were ever built. The Trafalgar, the UNSC Trafalgar, which is became the flagship of the Epsilon Eridani fleet, which is the fleet guarding Reach. And Trafalgar was destroyed during the fall of Reach, off screen. It's mentioned, I think it might be mentioned in First Strike. They find the wreckage of it after they come back to Reach. Four. Oop. When you release Punic, will it need to only be played in specific game mode? No, actually, we have just figured out how to get the spawning code to recognize your secondary weapon, which means we have basically unlocked another amount of ship spawning slots equal to the number of weapons in reach. Because as it was, we were at the limit. We'd already assigned slots for future ships and everything. But just today we figured out how to get the code to recognize your secondary weapon instead of your primary weapon. So we will have specific. General Trex has put together 3 specific capital Slayer modes for the Trafalgar, which is very, very cool of them. So we will be able to play it with that, but you will also be able to play it in regular Fleet Slayer and Fleet Invasion if you want. Now, the only thing about it is, be warned that it will wipe the floor with everything. It will be extremely powerful. It's not balanced for Fleet Slayer. Yeah, you will. When this releases, I will be updating all of the game modes to include the new ship spawning code that accounts for this. So that's super sick. Okay, so that's our icon. Now I need to navigate to a folder that has our HUD message strings. So it's going to be in data, UI, HUD messages.txt, and I need to add some new entries for this. Oh no, I don't. I already, in my infinite wisdom, I already set that up. You can see I already have HUD messages, or the name of the ship at the top of the screen for the Ascendant Justice. So it's going to be Ruma Pattern Light Carrier, and then in double brackets, Unsanctioned Symbiosis. And then for the Gettysburg, so that one of the crew on the Ascendant Justice will be technically the Gettysburg. And that's going to be Paris-class frigate, and in inverted arrows service now. It's a little bit of flavor there. Now I need to add in some new string for the longsword Shiva. Okay. Punic versus CSO and Hero Slayer. Yeah, we will be able to do that on launch day. Punic will lose, probably. How much does it do to CSO? We can find that out in a second. Super curious to see how the Ascendant Justice and Gettysburg is going to look together. Yeah, it's going to be cool, I think. I'm going to have all these like pipes snaking up into it. And the maintenance arms on the DDS are going to be folded out and like holding it in place. And the gravitic anchors in the prow pincers are also going to be holding it in place. They have a greater arc. I'm glad you think so. Gettysburg going to be damaged. Yeah, it's going to be missing one of its engines, the hangar thing on the bottom. It's going to be all torn up and a bit twisted in places. I don't know if it's actually going to have functional weapon systems. It would be cool to have like the Mac working. I think it's a bit gamey, a bit arcadey though. As far as I know, they only used the Gettysburg as extra power or something, or a Slipspace drive. I can't actually remember exactly what they used it for, but I don't think they used its weapon systems. Also, it would be kind of not great for the person in the Gettysburg seat if they had to use Archer missiles and Max while the people in the Ascendant Justice seats were using like super duper charged plasma cannons that are basically plasma lances and stuff, you know? Oh yeah, so change back in their hood, we need to change to go to text widgets. We need to go down to name. We need to put in this string, so hood Trafalgar. Voila, there we go, Punic-class Supercarrier. I also need to add in a third ship segment icon next to the name. So let's do that. Gunner, let's copy this. Place. Slide it across to 180. A little further. 90. A little further back. 5. Oh. Yeah, Ascendant Justice is a DDS class carrier that was captured by the survivors of the UNSC survivors of the first Halo ring. So Master Chief Cortana, I think Linda, Johnson, and some other Marines. They captured the Ascendant Justice and they went back to Reach. They found the wreckage of UNSC Gettysburg, which is a Paris-class frigate, and they hooked it up to the DDS for extra power or something like that. So this is the ship, the Covenant ship, that's going to be the Ascendant Justice. It's also just going to be a regular line ship as the DDS class as well. So the Gettysburg will be somewhere in here, kind of in stasis between these two gravitic anchors out here. And this model isn't finished yet, so I'm going to have maintenance tubes in the armpits of the two forward arms, and on the Ascendant Justice hero ship they're going to be deployed and snaking up into the Gettysburg. And these maintenance arms here will be folded out and it'll be holding it in place as well. So that's going to be cool. So Need to swap the middle gunner icon for a mid gunner bitmap. Yeah, there we go. So you can see it has the 3 segments representing each seat. That third one is going to have to move back a little bit. There we go. And now I'm going to have to copy that for the gunners. Oh yeah, I need to remove the, at the bottom left and right screen, I need to remove the evade prompts. This thing definitely cannot evade. There we go. So then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this HUD, paste it for the 2 gunners, and then I'm going to edit the gunner ones so that the whichever seat they correspond to is the one that's highlighted on the icons at the top. Rather DOS or CRS classes. So the DOS is planned as a hero ship. It's going to be a 3-player Covenant hero ship with a very powerful lance. And you're getting 4 ships. That's a big maybe. It's a very big maybe. I think when it comes to ships beyond the planned roster, top of the list is Flood. And probably Forerunner after that, but that's all hypothetical. I'm not making any promises. Do I agree that we need Greater Arc as a playable ship? No, I don't think I do. So, somehow. I think we can live without that. Okay, so we're going to save this as Trafalgar War Gunner. How would flood ships be different from normal ships? So they... Well, first they would have bits of flood biomass on them. Those bits of flood biomass would be weak spots. Might even try and make it so that if you destroy those flood biomass bits, they like spew out like those flood sort of spines, flood that the range forms shoot. Giant versions of them, so it's like a claymore going off. So if you pop them while they're close to you, you could get sprayed with those. For the most part, flood ships won't use the ship's actual weapons. They'll be firing flood insertion pods. They'll be firing the range form spines. They'll be firing globs of biomass, that kind of thing. I'm kind of wanting to do things with super combines. So with certain projectiles, if they super combined, it would create... Maybe it will create like a bit of flood biomass that attaches to the ship. That flood biomass does damage over time. When they explode, they'd be launching spores in all directions. Stuff like that. I'm also thinking of a flood spores, kind of like defensive fighters, so you would launch them at friendly ships, but they would only absorb one projectile each and then explode. You'd need to cover a friendly ship with loads of them. It'd be like infection forms in the way that they obscure targets. Oh yeah, so this is the foregunner, and then what we need to do is we need to go back to our bitmap widgets, and we need to make the pilot the faded variant. We need to make the mid-gunner the bright variant. Now if I hop into this, yep, there we go. Ante. Thoughts on the Quillic? Need to fire one boarding craft is interesting. So there are two single-seat Covenant ships that I have been thinking of including, the CAR and the ADP. So I think they would be first up for consideration. I think the ADP might end up getting the single boarding craft feature. And then otherwise it would be like a kind of a torpedo boat, so it would have the torpedoes that don't cause shield damage on firing, like the larger ships. Flood ships could be a separate mode or mod. They don't have to be a separate mod now, but they would be for... Well, they'd primarily be for infection, obviously. Yeah, so... another thing about the flood ships is the Covenant flood ships, they will have shields, but they won't regenerate once broken. But none of the flood ships will be reactor killable. Which means targeting the biomass bits is extra important. So we need to go to the rear gunner. Oh, sorry, goodbye. Rejecting Sentinel Beam. Thanks for tuning in. I think I might have missed you there. Is the Gladius ever going to come into the mod, or is it too small? So it's too small for the fleet combat, but it could show up in the dogfighting mode. The Schult-class Corvette is definitely going to be in the dogfighting mode. Bacon very generously gave me the model for that. Fort of Dawn or Savannah be added. So specifically, those ships, no. So the criteria for a hero ship is it needs to be either a unique variant in terms of its loadout and capabilities, or just a very powerful ship in general. So the Pillar of Autumn qualifies as a hero ship because it's a very heavily refit Halcyon. Very, very dangerous ship. So that qualifies as a hero ship. The Savannah and the Forward into Dawn are just standard examples of their class. So they're not special enough really to be added as a hero ship. Shadow of Intent, on the other side of things, Shadow of Intent is just a typical example of a Carol pattern, but the Carol pattern is one of the Covenant's most powerful ship types. It's more powerful in lore. It's a rarer and more powerful variant of Assault Carrier than the Siphon. Siphon's the regular one in the mod. What about Spirit or the Everest? Spirit is under consideration, yeah. Eventually we might see that in the mod. And Everest, I'm not sure if Everest is unique enough. Whoa, excuse me. I'm not sure if Everest is unique enough to be a hero ship. But I know it was refit in some capacity, I just can't remember how. If Forerunner ships were to be added, how exactly would they be different? They would just be like super powerful. They would just like their beam emitters would be like lances. All their weapons would be really powerful. I'd kind of the Forerunner ships would be for specific modes as well. I wouldn't advise using them in normal modes. But like a reverse infection mode where the alpha zombies are in Forerunner ships, and then, or like floodified Forerunner ships rather, or you could do it that there's only however many people are in a Forerunner ship. There's only 2 Forerunner ships worth of non-zombie players, and then the infected start with like 10 players or whatever, and then their job is to destroy the 2 Forerunner ships. Consider adding the Stalwart class just to expand the roster. No, I'm trying to avoid adding ships just for roster expansion's sake. And they need to be able to do something different. I know that Stalwart has a lot of air defense capabilities, but the Paris' point defenses are so good that you don't really need to put a ship in specifically for that job. The Stalwart would be more of a consideration for the dogfighting mode as well, if I decide to include ships at like a frigate scale. I might not necessarily do, but it would be cool. Well, you could do Forerunners versus UNSC, but it would just have to be... You couldn't do it in Slayer. It'd have to be a different, an objective mode or something, or just a action sack mode just for the fun of it, like, you know. Oh, we need to change the middle gunner back to faded. And the end gunner needs to be the highlighted one. Wouldn't foreigner be basically 1v15? Yeah, it would be more like a boss fight sort of setup. Okay, there we go. So that's our three hoods for our three seats. I think I might have to make these gunners, I think I need to make their cameras a bit closer in, just so they don't overlap with the zooms. Let's do RPV. Actually, no, we're going to leave it at CCS. Oh, sorry, RBVD. What about the Banished? Again, that's another big maybe. I wouldn't get your hopes up, but who knows? Yeah, look at that lovely Punic icon. Who made that? President of the Anvil Community Reload made that. I can't believe you're not part of the Anvil Community Reload. What the hell? How could you deceive me with your knowledge and charisma like that? Okay.
Targeting enemy
Okay, so that's going to be our gunner cameras, and then we need to make the actual zoom radius for the weapons here. Need to make that a little bit smaller. When will this update be live? Probably by the end of the week. I need to also set up the Shadow of Intent, so I want to launch both of them together. So probably by the end of the week. What's left for the Punic to-do list? Once we're done here with the hood, we just need to set up some proper explosions, and then it's done, basically. This game ever get firefight? Realistically, no. More about the Shadow of Intent. So the Shadow of Intent is going to be the next Covenant hero ship. It's going to be a 4-player ship, just like the regular CAS. It's going to be a more powerful variant of a CAS. And it's going to have the same kind of plasma torpedoes as the CSO, in that it's always firing enhanced ones, but they take up the same, they cause the same heat as a normal one. It's going to have similar beam emitters. It's just going to be better than a normal CAS in any conceivable way. More health, more shields. Probably a little bit faster. Better weapons. It will technically be slightly more powerful than the Trafalgar. This is a 4-seat ship, and the Trafalgar is a 3-seat ship. But it will still be an AV8, so that might... The fact that the UNSC will have 5 escort ships, the Covenant will only have 4 escort players, rather. But still end up being balanced. Yeah, so there is no, in Firefight, with AI, there is no way to make the AI behave in these ships in a way that would be fun or interesting or even feasibly engaging, because they're only really set up to... The AI is only really set up to fly Banshees and Seraphs, and the way they do that is they just kind of fly around and then they fly directly at the player. They do a strafing run until they're too close, and then they break off, come back around again, and repeat that. So basically the AI would always be flying directly at you, and they would only be able to use one weapon, and it just wouldn't be very... Yeah, it would be a poor experience. Okay, and set the same zoom effect up for the breakwater. 20 world units is too small. It was 30. Oh, I know why. It's because it's parented to primary trigger, which is at the very front of the ship. So we need to change the parenting of the effect. Wait, no, it says root. What the hell? Okay, interesting. Why? Why is that happening? Change that to Gunner D camera. There we go. And we need it, and then we can probably make the radius smaller. Yeah, hell yeah.
Firing.
East. I'm going to stream the Shadow Intent. Maybe, probably actually, yeah.
Targeting hostiles.
Okay, I need to update the launch strings for the longswords. Make a new hood for that. Favorite Halo ship design? My favorite Covenant design is the CCS. That's my favorite alien ship design ever in any franchise. UNSC side, I really like the Valiant. But the Paris is pretty goated as well. Okay, let's see. Oh yeah, so I need to re-import this strings file. Because otherwise, you get that. See the second string or tooltip on how to launch the bombers. It's giving just a basically an error because that string isn't actually defined in the current string file. So DUI hood import text. There we go. It's fixed. So now it's time for the explosions. So first of all, I think we're going to replace our initial explosion with these effects could be named better. Final explosion. So I'm going to set itself 40 just for testing this. Yeah, so that's the first explosion we want to have happen. Make these explosions in here, the bigger versions. Oh yeah, that's a dragoon. 400 dragoons. Oh, so Okay, so now we need to make the final explosion much bigger, so we're gonna base this on the CAS's explosion. So that's the size we want. Just got the actual fireballs, the human version. Okay. So we need to change the color of those particle effects as well. So fire lobe. Needs to be orange. Explosive flush. Is this colored blue? It is, yeah. I need to change this. Okay, it should be looking a lot more human. By that I mean orange. Okay. Excellent. there we go. I might want to space out those explosions a little bit. Come to think of it. So let's bump the destroy objects up to 8 seconds. We're going to make the main explosion happen. 7.8 seconds. Yeah, this is what lower accuracy looks like. You just get two-tapped, no matter what you're in. Let's try this. A bit better, a bit more. A bit less hurried. That second last explosion could happen somewhere else though. And maybe there a nuke trigger. CSO is planned to be added into Forge. It's already in Forge on some of the maps. I'm trying to remember which. I think it's on Forge. I think it's on Forge on this map, Consecration. I think it's on Forge on Cradle. It's in the scenery tag, and I don't think it has a name. It'll be at the very bottom of the list. It'll just be a blank entry. But it is the vehicle. You can spawn it and you can fly around in it. Maybe somewhere on the bottom, actually. Let's see. I don't really have any markers on the bottom. Never mind. Oh, target hangar rear. That might be a good one. Target hangar rear. Bring down the Vindication to Forge. Yeah, every ship will eventually be in Forge. The reason they're not in right now is because making any additions to the Forge maps, Forge palettes, will break every user-created map on those canvases. Every map variant on those maps. So we want to wait until we're in a position where we have a big Forge update ready to roll out on every map before we update them. Update them because people are going to have to make all new map variants from scratch, basically, when we do that. All the old maps will break. Okay, hell yeah. I think that's our Trafalgar destruction effects sorted. The max speed and the turn rate are in a good spot as well. Here we go. Not sure why the flash was parented to the world instead of the ship. Does that happen on this as well? Let's find out. No, it's because I know why. So we're going to make a custom effect for that then. It's main explosion. Save this as initial explosion. And we're actually going to remove this flash. Oh no, let's just change the coordinate for the flash to local. Even better. Initial. actually change the sound that plays. Initial explosion, so it's not beating itself. Let's do this one. Oh. Awesome. Okay, I think that's kind of everything. Everything we need to do for the Punic. Let me set its health back to a decent number. And back up to 40,000. Let's make stun time before it starts regenerating. Let's set that to 8 seconds instead of 12. Let's make the time it takes to recharge 60 seconds instead of 90. Let's make it regen back up to 50% health. And let's see how many plasma torpedoes it takes to kill it. Assuming they all hit armor. Okay, I actually can't fire normal torpedoes at this game speed because it thinks I'm charging, so let's just charge. That was 38 enhanced plasma torpedoes. Is that too much? Might be too much. That's just 35,000. Now that was all hitting armor, of course. Actually, let me reset. See how many it takes if we're hitting the critical areas. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it at 35,000 health. Now remember, its armored sections are reducing incoming damage by 30%, and I think the material it's made of all around is also reducing torpedo damage by 50%. So yeah, so an enhanced torpedo. Oh no, so torpedoes are doing 75% of their normal damage against this type of hull. Still, it's quite tanky. That's for sure. Then, of course, in the Capital Slayer modes, it's also going to be regenerating 5% health per kill. So, that should be fine. Much health is that compared to the Vindication? The Vindication has... I think it has 25,000 health. But keep in mind that the Vindication needs to be within weapons range of the Covenant if it wants to do anything, whereas the Punic can engage from much further away. Oh, this is the wrong tag. Need to be looking at the model. Yeah, the Vindication has 25,000. Punic has 35,000. Okay. Alrighty, so let's do a once over on her. So we can see that. Let me actually just double check what range its archer missiles are rated for. $5,000, yeah, that's the way I want them. So we have our Punic. You can see we have our beautiful hood. We have our hood elements designed by Reload. Accurately shows us when we're in the pilot seat at the top of the screen, shows the name of the class of ship. Put the Punic's icon there on the right. We have our archer missiles, which fire 30. Our volley. We have our longsword bombers. We press for the regular, we hold for bombers with Shivas. We have our point defenses. And we have our defensive fighters. Don't have any friendly ships to tag with them. We have that weapon sorted out. And on the gunner seats, each gunner seat is identical in terms of weapon loadout. We have our Super Mac, which will... Oh, okay, so it will one-shot a Ket, but it won't one-shot a Elephant. That's fine. The Ket has weaker shields, so I think that's okay. So the Super Mac on the gunner seat has the potential to one-shot a Ket pattern if it hits the reactor. Otherwise it won't one-shot it, but it will strip its shields and do a lot of hull damage. And it will one-shot a DCV and anything smaller than a DCV no matter where it hits. It's a 20-second reload.
Initiating.
Against the CAS, I think it does something like... It does 59% shield damage to a CAS. Then we have our armor-piercing breakwaters, which function the same as normal breakwaters, but they have a 1,000 world unit longer range than regular, and it can also reactor kill. So, just to demonstrate that, if I hit the prow of this... Oh, I accidentally reactored it. Just that good. Let's shoot here. Yep. And our armor-piercing breakwaters. There's a reactor kill. Then, just like the pilot, every seat on the Punic has the longswords. Actually, I want to check, does a longsword actually fit in those hangar bays? Hell yeah, it does. Wingtips might be clipping in, but Bacon has told me that the wingtips on their longsword is actually designed to retract or carrier ops, carrier storage. That's fine. Then we have our point defenses. And you can see that the hood at the top tells us which seat we're in. Middle gunner, or the first gunner. We have a rear gunner. Same thing, you can see we're in the rear gunner seat now according to the print. And it says the same armament.
Engaging.
Rear gunner. Now I think if we shoot down one of these with point defenses... Yes, it explodes as a Shiva does. Excellent. So there we go. The Trafalgar is ready. It only took... So I've been streaming for 2.5 hours. The other stream was, I think, 5.5 hours, and then 9 hours. You know, it only took 13 hours. No, more than that. I'm bad at maths. Like 17 hours. 17 hours of work to go from a raw model to a finished working asset. While I'm here, I'm going to remove the armor statistic text from its hood, and also the Vindication's hood. It just causes some confusion. It doesn't actually have armor. Where is our options? Okay, start with this one. Shields that can go. Shield percentage can go. Let's see. Was that shield percentage? Okay. Oh, so it shows a little percentage thing there. Excuse me. So it's the top percent we want to get rid of. Oh. Yeah, no, the stream's going to be ending in a few minutes. It's midnight. Making sure these hoods are all G. And on the Vindication. Yep. Will I do more dev streams? Yeah, most likely. It has proved to be a great way to keep myself focused. I can't promise that they'll be often. But, yeah, I will be doing more, that's for sure.
Firing.
Probably won't be dev streaming the modeling, creating the actual render models. That takes a lot of time. I'd rather stream when I'm ready to actually set it up as an asset. So I won't be streaming the DDS process, for example. And the modeling process for me often involves kind of just looking at the model for like 10 minutes at a time, figuring out what needs to be done, brainstorming where to go with it, stuff like that. So it's probably doesn't lend itself well to stream format. You should focus on me asking distracting questions. Well, yeah, but you know, I tend to find ways to distract myself anyway. Whereas when I know I'm streaming, it helps me to not like take breaks to look at videos or whatever, you know. So it keeps me focused in that capacity. The DDS done? No, there's still probably a couple of dozen hours of modeling left on that. Some areas need to be refined, so a lot of the whole surface needs to have its panel lines added. And then the whole purple area, the whole shell hole, needs to be UV'd properly so that it's displaying the hexagons. So you can see I did just a very basic UV on the brow. But you can see like there's like a join where two UV islands are meeting. I want to make sure that each kind of whole section is smooth with no interruptions like that. Then if you look at some other areas of the ship, there is no hexagons because there's no UV work done. Yeah, so there's still quite a bit to do. You can see like these panel lines here. I need to model in these panel lines on the rest of the ship, so you can see this piece, for example, is completely smooth, and everything further to the rear doesn't have panel lines yet, except for up here. And then there's a few more greebles I want to do in this area. I need to figure out this sort of armpit area here. There's just a hole in it right now. I need to figure out how to tidy that up. And I want to put in maintenance tube receptacles in there as well. Yeah, so there's a good bit of work left to do on this. Not by any means final, although it is getting there. We have the Slipspace jump with the Ascendant Justice. Yes, probably. I think all the Covenant hero ships except the CSO will be able to jump. I might even make the CSO able to jump, because it kind of has a tendency to just get involved in combat and then inevitably die. It doesn't have point defenses, so I think being able to jump would be a decent trade-off. The Punic-class will have 3 players. It'll be a 3-player hero ship. So the planned UNSC hero ships are the Trafalgar, which will be 3 players, Clontarf, which will be 3 players, Pillar of Autumn will be 2 players, and the Ascendant Justice will either be 3 players or 4 players. It'll probably end up being 4 players because it's very strong. Ascendant Justice will be at least 3. Probably 4. But yeah, so there we have it. That's the Punic-class all ready to go. Very excited to get this into the mod. It'll be a lot of fun. And yeah, I'll probably stream some of the Shadow of Intent work. Probably not tomorrow, maybe Thursday. There's a bit of work I want to do behind the scenes on the Shadow of Intent to get it ready for the streaming process. But yeah, exciting stuff, guys. Thanks very much for tuning in. I'm going to call it here for tonight. And yeah, I'll see you all again soon. Thanks so much for watching. And have a good night, or morning, or afternoon, wherever you are. And thanks so much.